Hey.
Good way to go.
Hey. I got you taped. Uh-oh.
Not good.
Oh.
That's real funny too.
Supposed to give the princess wave.
Oh.
There you go.
Grandmother's love. We sing it for our Mother Earth. We sing it for our grandmothers that passed on these teachings. The ones that prayed for us, the ones that prayed each and every one of us here today. Those grandmothers, we want to hold them up today. We want to thank them for their teachings, thank them for their words, for their love.
up and do the opening prayer, but she was unable to make it up from Portland. We're going to have an elder come and do the opening prayer, but she didn't make it up from Oregon. I was going to ask Keith, but I don't see him here. We're wanting to know if an elder can come up and do the opening prayer, and then we'll start on the first speaker after that, please. Bill? Can you come up, Bill? Good to see you go out of prison finally.
We ask you, dear Creator, to gather with us together and with your Spirit working through us to help free Leonard. We know that our prayers rise with the wind and they carry there. We put our trust in you to give this great hero of our people freedom. And that's your first motion to us is freedom. We gather in that spirit. We pray that he might walk free, and he might come amongst us once again to teach our children, to help us to live as people of God. Amen.
Thanks, Bill. Father Bill Bix. So glad to see him out of prison. In and out, off and on, fighting for people's causes everywhere. Our first speaker of the day is coming to welcome us on to her area here, and it's Dia Conway Dog Hides, Puyallup tribal member somewhere around here.
name is Dia Hobb Conway. I am the oldest child of Charles Conway, aka Dog High. I'm a member of the Puyallup tribe and a proud member of the Leonard Peltier Defense and Offense Committee. I would like to welcome you and thank you for your support. What a wonderful day for a march. Give yourself a hand. I'm blessed to have a job as I care for my tribe's children. In our own daycare, we sing our traditional songs and learn our traditional languages, and also share in protecting our Mother Earth. Leonard Peltier wants us to be able to do these things. These are things that him and my father have fought for. It is important that all Indigenous peoples are able to practice their traditions. I grew up listening to stories of Wounded Knee and of the fishing wars, and I would like to thank those who have fought for us so that we can keep our traditions alive. I am able to pass our traditions on to our growing and younger generations. It is very important that we care for our Mother Earth. Every little thing counts. We used to live in harmony with the earth, and now we are harming her. Our traditions are such that we work with her, and we are forgetting what is important. I would like to thank those who continue to share their knowledge today, and thank our following speakers for sharing today, and for all that you did in the past. Welcome and thank you.
And he works at the Tribal Child Development Center and does a lot with a lot of little tiny babies, and they love her little Jingle Bell bracelets. I'm going to have Arthur Miller, he's our coordinator for the Tacoma Leonard Peltier Defense Offense Committee, to come up at this time. Thank you.
I'm really grateful for everybody coming out today. This has been a long struggle for Leonard and all of us. And the one message that we are sending to the government, to the world, to our friends and neighbors, is that the one thing that ain't going to happen, that they want happen, is we'll never give up on Leonard, and we'll never forget Leonard. He will not become invisible. This is the organizing of these marches and stuff is hard, but it's a grassroots hard. Each event that we hold is the makeup of what everybody does. Everybody that shows up, everybody that sends a message to their friends, everybody that hands out a flyer. Whatever it is that you do to help, you are an important part of this event. And together, all of you is what makes up this event. Those that you see speaking here may have certain knowledge, and that's the reason why we speak, but it is you all out there that hear the words today that are the most important people here, because you'll take it home with you and maybe give that blessing to your friends and neighbors and others. We will keep doing this. We will be out here next year. We didn't do it in the winter like we normally do. It seems like more people come out when it's cold as heck. But nevertheless, this went out. I don't. Nevertheless, we're here, and we're here for a very important person and cause and situation. When I speak about Leonard, and I speak in solidarity of Leonard, I first always talk about Leonard as a person, and some of the other speakers will get more than that, because Leonard has stood strong for so many years, not just for his own case, but any time a struggle comes up that he hears about, he sees that there's something that he can do for them. He'll issue a statement of support to try to encourage them to go on. He just did that recently with a beautiful statement about Idle No More. He's there for us, and we need to be there for him. The other reason is this is possibly the most important political case in the history of this country. And the reason why I say this is that this situation was not somebody caught in the wrong place at the wrong time or any of these other things that many of our activists do. This was a planned situation. On the Pine Ridge Reservation, they had learned about high-grade uranium in the northwest corner. They wanted that uranium, but they knew because the elders refused to take money for the Black Hills that there's no way that the Lakota people were going to sell that land. So they decided to use other methods, under-the-table methods, methods that they always accuse people of us doing, but we never do, but they do. They violated their Constitution. They violated the laws of this land. But still it happened. It happened because there were corporations and TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, that wanted that uranium. And they knew that the only way they could get that uranium was to suppress traditional Lakota people. The traditional Lakota people went through a period of time called the Reign of Terror there. Over 66 people were murdered. Villages were shot up. This was right after Wounded Knee. They went back to AIM, particularly Northwest AIM, and asked for help. Leonard and the rest of Northwest AIM went to Pine Ridge and set up an encampment to help them. But not just as you might believe warriors to do. They were doing many other things that warriors do, which is the needs of the people. They started alcohol abuse programs, community gardens. There was talk about a survival school. But they knew that, the FBI knew that they had to not only suppress the traditional people, but with that AIM encampment, they had to suppress AIM. AIM and organizations like that and struggles like the fishing struggles here, Cascadia, Fort Lawton, and everything, did something very important in this country. It put a spotlight on what's really going on in this land. For many years, most American people didn't even realize that Native people even existed anymore and did not understand the terrible conditions, the residential schools and all that, and the ripping off of the land. They talk about financial scandals in the last few years. The biggest financial scandal in the history of this country, and maybe bigger than all the others put together, was the Department of Interior handling of natives' land, of not collecting royalties, of stealing land, and on and on and on about that. Well, everybody put this big spotlight on it, including AIM, and that's what they needed to suppress. They needed to suppress that spotlight. They needed to suppress the opposition to that uranium, because AIM being around meant that there would be a spotlight on that. That section of the reservation was illegally signed over the day before the so-called shootout at Oglala. How do we know that this was pre-planned? First off, that the illegal signing of a chunk of the Oglala reservation without the Oglala Tribal Council, without a vote of the people, just by a corrupt tribal chairperson by the name of Dickie Wilson, on the day before the shootout. The day before, the FBI was out there. They knew what was at that. They went in and talked to them. They knew that it was possible to go in and talk to people at the camp. No problem. But that wasn't good enough. They had stated that they did not want another Wounded Knee. They want something over quick. We also know because local hospitals were told to expect casualties on that day. We also know because all the roads leading into that area were blockaded. So they send in 2 FBI agents supposedly chasing a red pickup truck, which for all the great money that they have to spend on vehicles, apparently they couldn't catch this old reservation pickup truck out on the highway and stop and see who was in it. Rather, they followed it on to the encampment, which they had no warrant or anything to go upon. They used the excuse of this red pickup truck that they said that the young boy who had been allegedly accused of stealing a pair of used cowboy boots, and that was their ticket to invade that land on that day. They came in very fast, came up into a defensive position, just like the drive-by shootings had been occurring on the Pine Ridge Reservation. The people there believed that they were under assault, that they were fighting for their people and their own lives. The firefight did take place. Unfortunately, 2 FBI agents died. I don't want to feel good about the death of any person, but Leonard's not responsible for the death. If you want to point a finger at somebody, and they're probably in one of these buildings taking pictures of us, it was the FBI that was responsible for the death of their own agents. They sent them into a situation that they knew that those people would defend themselves, started a firefight, and just because they had that old Custer syndrome, thinking that Native people or anybody else can't defend themselves, unfortunately those 2 people were casualties, but it wasn't the people defending their lives that were casualties. Look at it this way: somebody comes up to rob you with a gun, and you bat that gun away, and somehow it goes off, and that person dies or something. That's self-defense. It's that person that pulled the gun on you that's responsible. It was the FBI that was responsible for that day, and don't let anybody kid you about the idea that we're out here supporting cop killers. We're supporting our people. Through the trials, the government broke its own laws. It intimidated the witnesses. We can prove it. They fabricated ballistics reports. We proved it. We got to the point that we could prove, if Leonard was given a new trial, that he was completely innocent, because we in time disproved everything that the government put on Leonard. And the 2 brothers that were tried before Leonard were found not guilty for reason of self-defense. Think about it. They weren't found not guilty in some nice liberal fashion of humanity, maybe Olympia or something. They were found not guilty in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, in a town that we normally would think would be basically biased. Well, those people heard the evidence and found Leonard not guilty. Then, Bob Robidoux and Nino Butler not guilty. Then Leonard was extradited. Somehow, illegally, Leonard's trial was taken away from that judge because he allowed self-defense evidence and given to a known racist judge up in North Dakota in Fargo, who did not allow Leonard to put on any evidence of self-defense or anything else. And the last thing to say about that case was Leonard got extradited back to this country when the United States government gave knowingly lying affidavits to the government of Canada. They had a woman by the name of Myrtle Poorbear come out and say she saw Leonard shoot the agent. Myrtle Poorbear was not there that day. Matter of fact, Myrtle Poorbear had been intimidated by the FBI. They were holding her in motel rooms and told her that she didn't sign those affidavits, that she'd never see her children again. When she finally got free and went to Leonard's lawyer While that trial was going on, she asked to testify about what was going on. The judge heard her testimony before the jury did and said that the jury could not hear her testimony because if she was to be believed, she would shock the conscience of the court. No doubt about it. Since then, we've had judges saying that the government was as responsible as anybody else for what happened. They came out saying that now that they don't know what part Leonard may have played in the situation that day, only that Leonard was there. Considering that the first two guys were found not guilty for reason of self-defense, Leonard has been in prison for 37 years for the act of self-defense. There's no doubt about that. Well, as I said, Leonard is about everything else that goes around him, even in the prison. Leonard went on a hunger strike once in Marion for the conditions of prisoners. He's done so much. And he tells his people to not just look at him, but to aid those in need. When Mumia Abu Jamal was sentenced to death, Leonard asked his supporters to stop working on his case and make damn sure that they didn't execute Mumia. That's the type of person Leonard Peltier is. He's for the people, he's for the earth. And it's about time we start looking up to people like that instead of what this society looks up at this pulp culture that's destroying our world. We have to stand up for our people, stand up for our prisoners, stand up for Mother Earth, and come together here for the well-being of all. Thank you very much.
I just gave him my chair and I think that he just sat in. We're like the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. We're all changing chairs. You know, by the time Arthur is through speaking, there isn't too much left to say. You know, he is, you know, Leonard has become a political symbol, and he's a very important symbol of how Indian people, Native American people have been treated since the very beginning. But he's more than that. You know, Leonard is a good guy. He's a really good guy. And the way that we met him was that he had an automotive shop. He was auto body worker and mechanic, and he had a very professional shop up in Seattle in the South End. And we heard about him because our movement vehicles were always broken down. We always had transportation problems. And we heard about this Indian up in Seattle that would help people. And so Allison and I made a trip from down to Squally. We went up to Seattle, and this shop was an 8-bay shop. 4 bays for auto body work and painting, and 4 bays for mechanical work. But when we walked in, both of us just jumped back. We were startled and scared because we were at war, struggling for our tribal and native and individual rights. And this whole shop was full of cop cars because he had the contract to take care of the Seattle Police Department cars. That's how good he was. That's how pro he was. And we laid it out. We told him, this is what we're doing. You know, we've got armed fishing camps. We're protecting our fishermen. And we've got to get from here to there. We've got court, we've got speaking gigs we need to do. We've got to be able to get around. And Leonard pitched in and helped us. And when we got to know him later now, if a grandpa from Sioux country had a busted some kind of a belt or something, or some grandma had a flat tire, any Indian, autogas, whatever, you know, Leonard would just go help them out of his pocket. He always did that. And when we had our fishing camp down here at Puyallup, you know, he used to come down and he'd tell me not to be so serious. Come on, let's go party, let's go have some fun. Why are you always so serious? I know you like to dance, come on. And I said, no, I got 300 people here that I'm trying to keep fed and keep out of trouble, and I can't go play. You say, you're always so serious. And that's how he was. He liked to have fun and work on cars and help people. That's just the kind of guy he was. Always big smile. We were at Fort Lawton, and these boys, Gary Bray and David, his brother, had scouted the route. They had scouted the route to get to the back side of Fort Lawton. And so now it's time for us to do our little invasion. So we park and we go down to follow their route. But they were Colville Indians. They didn't know about tides. And their route was on the beach. Think about this. The route was on the beach. Colville Indians don't know tides. We got down there and our route was like this deep. So we had to go through, well, we thought we had to go. Anyway, we had to go through these people's yards. And they had fences between each one, and they had bulkheads. And so I happened to go through with the bunch Leonard went through with. I was a lot lighter then. I weighed about 110 pounds. But every time we'd come to a fence, Leonard would pick me up and lift me over the fence. And then when we got to the bottom of the bluff, we had to climb that long hill up, and so there we were, hanging off a steep embankment all night, and Leonard was there. And those of you that have seen the film As Long as the Rivers Run, Leonard's the one with the headband standing by the teepee. And he was a kid. I mean, he was just a young guy. I don't know how old he was when he was locked up, but Arthur knows everything. He's the Google of Leonard. How old was he? 31, 32 maybe? How old he is now, subtract 37. Yeah, we were all kids. I could climb bluffs then, so you know we were kids. But, you know, he was just, I don't think he was even there because of the political issues. He just loved his Indian people. He just really, really loved his Indian people. And so wherever we were, there he was, because he just liked to be with his people. And so when Dick Wilson's goons started burning down the elders' houses and tossing the traditional vehicles and impounding everything, and shooting people and killing people, there was a call. There was a call for help. And it was the elders and the traditionals. They said, we need security. We need security here. We need eyes. We need witnesses. And so Leonard did exactly what you would know that he would do. He went. It was Indian people. It was elders. They needed help. They needed more than a fan belt. They needed more than a tire. They needed physical bodies there protecting them from having their houses burned down and being beat up and being arrested and dragged. So Leonard went, and we didn't even realize he went, did we, Sue? He just went. And, you know, talk about the least likely Indian to be violent. He was tender-hearted. He was a real kind-hearted man. And the next thing we heard, you know, all of this had happened. Now, we knew that 83 Indians were murdered back there with no investigation whatsoever. No investigations, no arrests, no convictions. Just a whole bunch of Indians murdered, and nobody gave a damn and nobody did anything about it. But what we heard then was that Leonard had been arrested. I was shocked. I mean, this wasn't a troublemaker. This wasn't, I mean, not that we're troublemakers, but you know what I mean. I mean, he was the one most likely to go buy a case of soda pop or a case of beer for whoever was there. He was the least likely to get involved in a shootout. And so we were involved in some of the court stuff. I went back to Kansas City, Missouri. Well, we all went to Canada to try to block the extradition, but then I was one of the witnesses for him in Kansas City, Missouri. And you know, when you're in court and someone's on trial, the court does not allow any comment, any or anything, no sound effects whatsoever allowed. But when I was testifying, the FBI families were there splashing tears, moaning, groaning, making comments out loud. They were not excluded from the court. They were permitted to do a whole show of their disdain, disgust, hatred, sorrow, whatever, and emote they did. There were about 20 of them just carrying on, and it should have been thrown out. Just for that, it should have been thrown out. It should have been overturned. You know, all of this has just been so unfair. And you know, if you guys for 1 second think you're not making a difference, you know you are. Know that all over the world, all over the United States and all over Canada, there are gatherings like this. You know, people who care, people who miss him, people who love him. And that's, I'm pretty certain that the government grabbed him, singled him out, and identified him because they believed that, urban Indian, here on the reservation, nobody's going to miss him. Nobody will miss this urban Indian that just happened to be on the reservation. I think they really thought they could just disappear him. And what they didn't get is, you know, whatever you put out, that's what you get back. And this was a man that loved his people. He loved his people, and that love has grown. And we miss him. We miss him. We love him. And people can feel that, they know that about him. He is a symbol. He is a symbol of all of the ways we've been treated, of the genocide, the Holocaust, the imprisonments, all of the assaults against us by every arm of the government, every single arm of the government, any government, the tiniest little local government. You know, he is a symbol of that. But I'm glad you all know he's more than that. And I'm glad that the 1,000 other locations that are having rallies like this know that too. And so I'll just say all my relations.
Tried to do the hug thing, but I can't do that and talk at the same time. Someday I'll learn to do two things at once, but it's not right now. I want to thank everybody again for coming. We're going to have James Old Coyote and his canoe family come up here and do another song or two. After James is going to be Sweetwater.
Wahoo, thank you. Before we get started here with our little segment, there's a little bit of work that we need to take care of while we are marching here.
For this day. Thank that you all of people that we can gather today on their sacred land and come together in a good way. Pinaksin nanak duasak, kiksari yari katati, sit kwedi tachkan, asli yek yari ka, nanyai tachkan, takin kwan. My name is Sweetwater Nanak. I'm from the Killer Whale clan of the Tsimshian Nation. My father is from the Raven Frog clan. I'm the grandchild of the Glacier People clan. And my great-grandmother was a precious grandchild of the Upper Living clan from the Stikine River. And this is how I was taught to introduce myself by my elders. As many of you may share those teachings, I'm not just me. We're just everybody who came before us. We're standing on the shoulders of our ancestors, those who fought for us, for our rights, for every right we have. Everything that we have today, that their lives were lost, that we're standing on sacred ground, that blood was spilled, that we could stand here, that prayers were laid down and said, that we could be here standing strong today. So I'm just thankful. I came here to talk a little bit about Idle No More, and I know Leonard was in support of that, because what's happening to the earth is affecting us all, in the north, south, east, and west, from the eldest to the youngest. What's happening in Canada, that's going to impact us here too. Those tar sands, those oils, we're going to have thousands of ships coming through here, our sacred waters here. So it's really important and thankful that we can come together here and support our loved one and dear one who's been unjustly imprisoned for so many years. And I'm just thankful for our elders here who've been standing by him for so long, keeping this going strong and sharing this story with our young ones here, our children, that they can continue the fight, not just for Leonard, because he represents all of us, all people who've been in prison unjustly for hundreds of years, really. I have stories of our own people who were sent down here to Washington that were forced to go to the Neil Islands because they were practicing their traditional ways. They called us heathens. They didn't allow us to practice our medicine.
So they imprisoned us down here, and many of our people died. And so we share a common bond here with each and every one of you. All our ancestors were united, and we know who we are and where we came from, and we know what we're doing today will be for the next 7 generations and all those who will come after us. So I'm just thankful and honored to be here. I thank the organizers and Arthur for inviting me here. So I just want to continue the blessings and the songs and the prayers that we can keep going. And keep going. I would like to continue our songs and stories. And one of the things we do, I'll share with you some of our chants too. With the Plinkets, we do, some of you may have heard us on the canoe journey, we hoo-ha. They're hoo-hahing again. And what it means is kind of like when we're out on the canoe, to keep strong, to keep going. Don't give up, keep fighting. And some of those are our teachings that were passed on to us. Keep going strong. And those prayers, those songs and stories. So I just want to, after I'm done, I'm going to ask our brother here, James, and Sacred Water to sing us a song too, to do a dance, so we can do a dance, a round dance. And our dances are dances and songs, my brother said, those are our prayers. We send those prayers out to give Leonard strength, keep fighting, good fight. I'm thankful for his prayers and his words that he's sending out. Touching so many lives he has touched over the years. It's just a blessing to know that he's still there and he's still keeping his head up strong and standing there in a good way, even though through all this oppression, through all of this institutionalized racism, through them trying to destroy us, our culture. So I'm just thankful for every day that we can stand, another day. So I want to say this here chant, and I want you guys all to join me. And I'll finish it up with the hoo-ha, and then I'll ask my brothers to sing their song for us. And if we could go around here in the big circle. I guess we can't go out on the street, so I guess we'll stay on the sidewalk here. So please join me. Free Leonard Peltier! 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 Hoo-ha! 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 Whee! Thank you. Please join us in our song, and we'll dance for our brother here. And may those prayers go out to him and all our brothers and sisters who've been unjustly imprisoned and hurt and suffering for so long. But it may not be in vain that their prayers are going out and we're standing with them. Cheesh.
Car waiting to go.
Oh, good afternoon. I'd also like to thank the brothers, the singers, who have carried on a special duty, special responsibility. That they could be here with us, and walking for our brother, Leonard Peltier, trying to bring about some justice. But it's not no coincidence that we're here today and we're carrying on in the footsteps of our ancestors. We're carrying on in the tradition and the prayers and the way that has been handed on to us from many of our elders. And many of them are gone today. Many of them that dedicated their lives and their time to bring justice to the Indian people. Here in the Northwest is a strong history of resistance, from the fishing rights to Fort Lawton, and also Leonard Peltier, who had the history in the community. And that's why we're here today, is to talk about his history, but also remember who he is and why he's there. While I was standing here, I was thinking of all the prisons that he has been in the last 37 years. He's been the mayor in Illinois. He's been to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, Harrisburg, Lompoc, El Reno, Oklahoma. And now he sits in one of the most maximum security prisons in the prison system in Tacoma, California, in Florida, for a crime that he did not commit. He's been found guilty of aiding and abetting in the death of 2 FBI agents. And it's never been proven that he actually killed the agents. But they needed somebody. Somebody had to pay. That's why we're here today, surrounded by the cops. And they know it's no coincidence either of why they're here. I hope that someday that our presence here and our voices and our song and our unity will come together here, where we will see hundreds and thousands will be covered in this little square. That is what we want. And that's what we can achieve. And that's what is going to get our brother Leonard Peltier out of prison. It's sad to say that President Obama made many promises to Indian people. And in my book, Obama's just another Buffalo soldier. He's just another soldier carrying out the policies of the federal government. And if you've been reading the news the last few days, the Lakota people have refused to meet with Obama and his representatives who are trying to put a pipeline through their territory. So our struggle will continue. That is why I know that many of those movements, our sister from the I Don't Know More, the Occupy movement, we all have common goals. And I hope that sometime, someday, we will see it. For many of those that have carried on this struggle, particularly those in this community that are no longer here with us. And I can think of one that I miss also dearly. And it's good to see his daughter here speaking out for their family. For Chuck, Doghide, Conway, and many others. And Leonard Peltier is a symbol of that resistance today. And that's why we're here today, to walk in that prayer, to walk in the footsteps of our ancestors. When I was listening to those singers singing their songs, I even seen these police officers. I've seen their toes tapping. I've seen their hands drumming a little bit. So they're here. We're educating them, and that's important. Because we're going to need their help too. And so that's why it's important for us, even if it's just a handful, to continue to carry on this resistance, this struggle. The spirit of resistance is still here in this land. And we still have the power, the natural power to connect with it. And that's what we're doing. That's what we have been doing. Many of you that have been to these marches year after year, you know what we're talking about and how we feel. So it's good to see many colors, many different walks of life to come together here to show the support for our brother Leonard Peltier. Next week, Leonard's case will be brought before the United Nations again in New York. Even the United Nations, who sent a special rapporteur to investigate the case of Leonard Peltier, made a recommendation that in order for Leonard Peltier to be free, that this government must have some kind of reconciliation with Indian people, and including clemency for Leonard Peltier. That came from one of the highest officials within the United Nations that's following the case of Leonard Peltier. And people will be meeting him again next week. The United States likes to talk about human rights and the respect of human rights. We know that ain't the case for many of our brothers and sisters throughout the world, such as our brothers in Palestine, those in Gaza who are fighting blockades, and even here in North America, in this continent, where we've seen the Six Nations, the Iroquois, walk across the border and block the freeway for 3 hours. That is the spirit and the power of our people. And that's what we're here today, is to build that power and that respect. This is the foundation. My brother here has put his sacred pipe there in Shinupa for prayer. And that's what keeps us strong. That's what keeps our movement strong. Even though I'm a member of the American Indian movement, I always look at myself as part of being the movement first, because I do not consider myself an American. And I don't even consider myself an Indian. I'm a Choctaw from Oklahoma, one of the original peoples of this land. And so what started out here for Leonard Peltier is standing up for many of the people that are fighting for their fishing rights. And that still goes on today in some form. Not just here in this country, but throughout the world. The United Nations passed a resolution, a declaration, called the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Over 192 countries have signed it in the world, except for the United States government. I don't think they ever will sign it, and I don't think they intend to sign it. And even if they did, it's only a moral obligation. What we need is something more significant, something stronger. We need a convention, a legally binding convention. And that's some of the work that's happening next week at the United Nations. Many of our people will be there to discuss. There's an international conference coming up next year in 2014. Already, governments, countries, and this government particularly, are trying to make it where our people are not going to be represented there at the UN. That is how hard we must continue to struggle. And today, I would say it's an honor for me to be here, to walk with you, to hear your songs, to listen to my elders, to see these young people, to see our warriors here, the drummers and singers. We all have something to give, and we can give more for Leonard Peltier. Just our presence, and carry on the struggle. The same struggle that he believed in, that brought him into this movement. And so today, again, I want to say thank you. And for all of you that contribute and help out in many different ways. And I'm sure Leonard appreciates that. And most of all, this prayer that we're all part of here today. Thank you, all my relations.
Our next speaker is going to be one of Leonard's children, Chauncey Peltier. A few minutes ago, Steve Happy came around with some flyers for you. It's going to be Letters for Leonard. We did a phone zap before. This one's going to go from May 20th to June 26th to gather up letters and mail them to the address on the piece of paper, and they'll take them all together at one time to help try to get clemency for Leonard. The next speaker I've known since he was okay, I'm going to age myself. He was a little small guy back in the day. The old AIM house up in Seattle. He's Chauncey, one of Leonard's children.
I'm Martin Ginger, and I appreciate everybody's support here for Leonard. Like she said earlier, it was always polite to let you know I'm a Turtle Mountain Chippewa. My dad was a Turtle Mountain Chippewa from Turtle Mountain, North Dakota. My mom's a Fort Totten Sioux from Belfort, North Dakota. I lived in Oregon my whole life. Worked in construction my whole life. My dad came there in the 60s. I was born in Oregon. Been there pretty much my whole life. I'm 48 years old. I was 38 years old in that Indian camp when this happened. Nobody ever hears a lot of that. I remember Joe Stunts. Nobody ever mentions anything about Joe Stunts. Joe Stunts was he was the only Indian guy there that got shot. Nothing ever became of Joe Stunts. I just always want to say, as a kid growing up, my dad was always told me to be a firm believer in law and order. He never steered me wrong. His intentions wasn't there wrongfully like the feds and everybody believed. He was there. He wasn't even a Pine Ridge Indian. These people come and ask him to help them. He went there to fight for the people. They were there. You think those Indians knew those guys pulled up were feds? On my whole life, people ask me the story. I tell them. It don't matter. I got friends in Oregon. I've lived in Oregon my whole life. I got friends there, cops, everything. It don't matter if you're European or what. Everybody that's ever I told this story to says, yeah, if somebody pulled in my driveway and started shooting, the first thing they would do is shoot back. If you don't know who's shooting at you, what are you going to do? It's called self-defense. Isn't that part of America? Isn't that our right? Part of bearing arms? Isn't it a right to defend yourself? Well, that only stands for some people that I've seen, because the Indians, they've been getting robbed a lot for the past 400 years. And it ain't stopping now. Anybody that thinks it stops, fooling themselves. I got people telling me all the time, Chomps, you're Leonard's son, come help me. I live my life, I do my own thing. They're robbing Indians to this day. Don't believe it ain't happening. If you think it ain't happening, you're fooling yourself. Believe me. To this day, they're still robbing people, Indian people. Someday, there probably won't be no Indian land. What will that be like? Will there be an Indian someday? 100, 200 years from now. Maybe people won't even know what an Indian was, like a dinosaur or something. That's what the Indian people are sticking up for. That's what we need to stick together and fight together. It don't matter if you're Choctaw, Sioux, Cheyenne, or whatever. We need to stick together and fight together. Everybody always asks me to come and help, but I don't ever see anybody sticking together. We need to stick together. That's what frustrates me. We're all Indians. It don't matter. It don't matter how much Indian you got in you. If there's Indians that need help, back them. We all need to stick together. That's why they took this country from us. That's why Indians. You look in Indian jails. Look back in the Dakotas. I've been looking up a lot of this. Look how many Indians are in jail for bullshit reasons. Little bullshit that most people don't even go to jail for. I guess we're back to they're picking on the Indians. Well, you don't have to say that. You just look back into history and look at it. Nobody's got to tell you, look back in history. That will tell you. You don't need Chauncey Peltier to tell you. You just look for yourself. You can see it. I had so much to say. A lot of these guys already said stuff I was going to say. I get excited. I just don't. It's frustrating. Being a kid all my life and hearing all this stuff about Leonard Peltier, and me in the back of my mind, knowing the man's innocent. Imagine what's going through his family's mind. I'm 14 years old, I get arrested for a bullshit charge, and the cop's kicking me in the face going, how's your cop killing dad doing? I'm thinking, man, I've only met the guy a couple times. Right there. It don't matter. I've had DAs and cops try to lock me up forever. I've had judges and lawyers save my life. Where does it stand? Where's the stand? How does it feel if you're a judge or a lawyer or a cop and somebody's judging your family for what you are, just for being a cop or a judge or lawyer? It sucks. I'll tell you, it really sucks. And especially if you know your dad's innocent. I was 8 years old in that Indian camp. I wasn't there at the shootout, but I know. And it's hard. It's really hard. And the only thing I can say is about the feds and them, you know, everybody screws up. You know, everybody makes, you're not man enough to turn around and say, hey, we screwed up. You know, we couldn't run for it. I was 8 years old there. I never seen Myrtle Portbear in my life. I never seen that woman. I was the last one of his kids with him. Myrtle Portbear come walking in there. I was 8 years old. I looked, who the hell is that? Well, that's Leonard Peltier's girlfriend. Oh, I'm 8 years old. No, that ain't. I've never seen her a day in my life. It's tough, you know. It's just Leonard, you know. It don't matter if it's Leonard. It don't matter if you're white, you're black, anything. It can happen to any one of you. How many innocent people are in jail? You know, look at it that way. That's the way I look at it. I tell people all the time, what are you so mad about? You could be sitting in a joint for something you didn't even do. You know? They get that one-track mind, they get stuck on you, they want you. You know? Leonard was the fall guy. Leonard's gonna pay. Leonard says, hey, what am I in here for? Aiding and abetting the killer. First he was getting charged with killing 2 FBI agents. Then he's in there for aiding and abetting the killer. Now he puts out a statement and goes, I don't even know why I'm in here. Go in front of them, they barely even got any charges on me. You know? 38 years prison, and they don't even know what they're going to charge the man with. Come on. It don't matter. It don't matter. You know, what color, what race you are, cop, judge, lawyer, whatever. A bomb walking down the street. It can happen to any one of you. I think we all need to sign petitions. More power to you guys. And like I'm saying, it ain't just for Leonard. I ain't just saying this because he's my dad. I'm saying this because it can happen to any one of you. That's why I'm saying it. Freedom, man, they can't even convict the guy right. I mean, they got bullshit charges on him. People, ballistics, everything.
Thank you. I know that gets hard to talk about that kind of stuff. Some of Leonard's cousins who weren't even out of prison at that time. They were in prison. One of Leonard's cousin, Richard, was in prison, and the feds tried to get me to go in to tell what Leonard was doing that day. Richard wasn't even there. The feds then went into the prison and said, we have your fingerprints on one of the firearms that went off that day. We know you were there. I don't know how hard it would have been for them to look at the records, but he was in frickin' prison at McNeil Island during that time. So he wasn't even there, you know, but that's the kind of stuff they always love to do. I know I have an agenda here, so I'll quit rattling on. We're going to have Peter Bowman come up next.
Yeah, thank you, Chauncey. Yeah, I want to thank Arthur Miller, Steve Happy, Ramona Bennett, and all those who worked to organize the Marching Valley and worked so tirelessly and persistently for so many years to freedom Leonard Peltier. Leonard's an inspiration for strength and integrity for over 40 years as a member of the American Indian movement, has defended the people and resources of Pine Ridge Reservation, and for 37 long years as a political prisoner. He is in prison for us, for all people committed to environmental justice, to economic and social justice, to liberation, and to right to self-determination for Native people. We're out here for him. For Leonard's membership and leadership in AIM, he was targeted by the FBI and sentenced to life in prison in '76 in a trial marked by gross misconduct by the judicial system. The 60s and 70s were a period of mass movements and hope that another world was possible. It was also a period of intense government repression, break-ins into houses, causing divisions among groups of people, false arrests, infiltration of progressive revolutionary groups, attempted and actual assassinations. The most intense repression was against Black, Latino, Latina, and Native activists, and groups such as AIM and the Black Panther Party. Much of the repression was organized and carried out under the FBI's counterintelligence or COINTEL program, which officially ended in '71, but never actually stopped. Whites who stood up for justice and solidarity with third world people or people of color in today's language were also targeted. For example, I lived in San Diego from 70s through 75, was active in anti-war organizing of GIs and civilians, and community organizing against police brutality and developers from an anti-capitalist perspective. I was targeted by the FBI and San Diego police and Nixon's Watergate team by being shot at, many arrests on false charges, imprisonment, losing my job, heavy infiltration by the FBI and police agencies. I was a victim of COINTELPRO. I and many others in the 60s that will continue to fight against oppression and for justice. Let's not let repression stop us. It's important also that we build radical movements that cross the generations. There is many issues of justice, injustice, and oppression today as there were in the 60s and 70s. We're living in a period of high unemployment. Over 20 million people are unemployed. 1/8 of the white population is below the official inadequate poverty line, and the rate for blacks, African Americans, and Native peoples in the U.S. is more than twice that. On many reservations, such as Pine Ridge, 1/2 of people are below the official poverty line. 1/3 of the world's population are poor and undernourished, although there's plenty of food to go around. More than 2 million people in the United States are in prison. Blacks and American Indians are more than 5 times more likely to be in prison than whites, and we're supposed to believe that racism has ended. Who are you kidding? Hundreds of thousands of immigrants are deported to the United States or locked up in private prisons, such as the Northwest Detention Center at 16th and J in Tacoma, for the crime of crossing the border to work. Let's demand that all immigrants have full rights and to all deportations. Health care and public education are being gutted by state governments and the federal government who refuse to tax the wealthy, but have more than enough money for the military and prisons, but not for human needs. In Washington State, higher education is being privatized as tuition rather than public money covers the large majority of the cost. Corporations have rights but not for the working people. The U.S. is involved in even more wars and occupations today than they were in the 60s and 70s. There's an environmental crisis as climate change and environmental destruction are happening as we speak. At the Evergreen State College where I teach, the 55 student support staff have formed a union. They demand to be treated with respect and not be fired without cause. They're going to go on strike the next 10 days if their demands are not met. Let's support them before and if they strike, as their struggle is an important one for all of us. It's part of the struggle for all workers to be treated with respect. Their victory will be a step towards revitalized and combative and democratic labor movement in Washington State. Our society can't go on as we've been with a capitalist economic system that sees human beings and the earth as things to be exploited for profits. A system based on war that's more and more dysfunctional for the great majority of people of the globe and the U.S., where inequality of income and wealth is growing daily under Republicans and Democrats. A system unsustainable for the earth and its people. We need to build social movements that into racism, budget cutbacks, violent incarceration, of climate justice, against poor militarism, of women's security rights. One that supports gay and lesbian and trans liberation, that struggles against poverty and housing foreclosures, that stops people being displaced from their land, that targets capitalism as the cause of these interrelated forms of oppression. Let's fight the power and struggle in ways big and small for a different society, for what I would call participatory socialism, where human needs are put at the center, where everyone has meaningful work, healthy food, free education, quality medical care and housing, where cultural diversity and equality and self-determination are the reality, not meaningless rhetoric, where people have the power and corporate capitalist power is ended. It's not that complicated. We can do it. Si se puede. In struggling for liberation and revolutionary change and building social movements, we must never forget our political prisoners. I'm proud to say that Evergreen State College, where I teach, as a result of student organizing, selected Leonard Peltier as a graduation speaker in 1993, and he gave an inspiring speech that he gave to people while he was in prison. And when me, Abu Jamal, graduated in 2000, let us help is not good. I urge you to demand his clemency and freedom, and that groups you know support this righteous request for his freedom, and ask your friends, neighbors, fellow students, co-workers to do the same. The word solidarity is meaningless unless we make it part of our daily lives and organizations supporting political prisoners and working for their freedom. Relatively well-known ones such as Leonard, and less well-known ones such as Ford, a Muslim grad student from Portland who was sentenced to 18 years in prison in 2003 as part of the phony war on terror. He committed no crime. Many thousands are targeted today for being Arab, for being Muslim. Learn about Lamont Ford's case. Check out the Jericho movement to learn about political prisoners in the campaign for freedom and amnesty. End the incarceration of immigrants and most prisoners. Close the special housing units and solitary confinement. Stop the inhumane conditions of prisoners. Free Leonard Peltier. Free Mumiyab Jamal. Free all political prisoners. Power to the people. Thank you.
Chasing me down at the Indian Center, dragging me over to the small room there where we had our meetings on Thursdays. I tried to resist, and this brother, Gary Gray, he grabbed me by my arm. I tried to resist, and I tried to tell him. I said, hey, I'm just a young man, you know, I'm just a young boy, you know. That there is for you, grown-ups. I was trying to walk away from that. My brother, Gary Gray, he grabbed me and he looked at me and he said, Mike, this is your education. Understand this. You're the youngest one in this organization. I remember sitting there, and I remember talking about who we were going to elect as our leader for the United Indians of all tribes. And it was hands down because we had to look nowhere else but through the likes of our brother, Bernie Whitebear. You know, I'm very thankful, you know, to bring these words out. And, you know, I have but a short time, you know, to bring these feelings out. And, you know, this is something that I wanted to share with each and every one of you. The feelings that were lingering through my mind as I made this journey up here to this courthouse. I remember being on the longest walk, and I remember an elder from the Iroquois
They want, you
Nation
know, people want to ride down to
telling everybody that
Oh, okay. Well, I got my hot rod over here, so if anybody needs that.
over here.
As long as we have our children, we will always have to struggle. We will always have to fight for our beliefs. You know, I was very fortunate to have my brother Leonard's family come to me. And that's why I offered myself here today, because it was Leonard Peltier's family that asked me back in '78 to join them in a sweat lodge. They wanted my prayers for the family, but most importantly, my brother Leonard. It was an honor, you know, to stand up for my brother, but most importantly, you know, his family that was left behind. And that's why I come here today. Because through my teaching, through my grandmother, She always stressed to me as a child, growing up, understand the power of prayer. Abide by your heartfelt feelings, never go against them. Follow it in the direction that it chooses for you. I know my brother's suffering. He sacrifices much. 37 years he's been in prison. 37 years he stands with that power, that love, that compassion for each and every one of you. From the little ones on up to the elders. Remember this. Take it home. Come tomorrow when you wake up. Offer your prayers. Offer your love to our loved ones. And that's why I come here today, you know. I wish to offer a song to my brother. But before I do, you know, I'd like to have each and every one of you understand this song, the story that comes behind it. My elder by the name of Leonard Crodog, he was the one that stood before me, and he was the one that explained me the power of this song. And many of you have heard this song throughout the four directions of Indian country. I remember my elder within the wash-up religion telling me, instructing me, that you have to know the stories behind these songs. Because these songs are very powerful. These songs are the tools that the Creator gave to us. These songs were given to us to offer to our children, to the unborn. Those songs are powerful. It's the key that opens up that spiritual door, that spiritual gate. We are only temporarily visitors placed upon this land. My grandmother told me that we come here to be who we really are, to make a difference, to make a change in our life. And you have to understand that you have to have that first song. Remember it, because it'll come to your heart. It'll touch your heart. You'll never forget it. As I said before, my brother suffered 37 years in prison for the likes of each and every one of you, the unborn. And with that, I chose to suffer along with him. I chose to make changes in my life. And I'm very proud to say that I walked 35 years in my life in sobriety. I did this for the likes of my brother, Leonard. I did this for the likes of my elders, Herb Powless, Steve Robidoux, Joe Washington, Philip Deere, Ernie Peters. I could go on and on with these elders that my path had come across as a young man. You know, these are just a few words that I'd like to share with each and every one of you. I could carry on, you know, with these words, these stories, but we're here for just a little while, and, you know, I have to cut this short, you know. And that's why I come up here today, you know. I wish to offer my love, my respect, my compassion for the likes of my brother Leonard. My brother, He's going to hear this song when he goes to sleep. He's going to hear these prayers that are going to take place. Because the Creator, He chose the direction that he must walk. He stands strong. He stands proud. Even though he's confined in the likes of a white man's prison, white man's bars. As my grandmother once told me, you take this teaching, you take this belief, and you place it into your heart. Because once you've done so, no man, the United States government especially, can never take away this teaching, this belief, even in death. I'd like to offer this song to open up that gateway for my brothers, so that the Creator will look down and have compassion and love for a loved one that suffered so many years. We are benefiting from that today, because I said that earlier, much changes that take place, in Indian country. This song that I offered, my brother Leonard, he told I and a few other warriors at a Sundance. This Sundance was held for the likes of our brother Leonard Peltier. He told us the meaning of this song. He said, yes, this is an honor song. This is a song that's heard throughout the four directions of Indian country. But this song worships our ancestors. It worships and it honors those that made that journey back home where each and every one of us rightfully belong. There's an empty void on that side that awaits each and every one of us. But most importantly, this song, it honors those that were left behind, the families of our elders that gave that ultimate sacrifice, who struggled so much to see that this beautiful way of life continued on to the future. And with this, I'd like to offer this prayer. Kinkashla, Grandfather, Great Spirit. I wish to thank you, Grandfather, for the wonderful gifts that you have come to share with us, the Indian nations. We hold dearly to our hearts the teaching and the lesson of our ancestors, our elders. And with this, Grandfather, I ask you that you may give us the power, the strength, the will to carry this beautiful way of life into the future for the unborn, but most importantly, those less fortunate to have received such a blessing. I'm very thankful, Grandfather, for that beautiful spirit that watches over I, my family, my loved ones that I hold dearly to my heart. I thank you kindly for the protection, physically and spiritually. And at this time, Grandfather, I ask you that you may hear the songs and the blessings that took place for our loved ones. Touch the hearts of those that he stands before, those that will judge him. Let love and compassion flow through their hearts with understanding, knowing that we must abide by the justice that was placed before us, the teaching and the beliefs. I ask you, Grandfather, that you will give my brother Leonard the power, the strength, the will to carry on with the sacrifice and the struggles that he took upon himself. He does so for the likes of each and every one of you. He does this for the unborn, but most importantly, he does this for his family, his children. And as warriors, we have to stand up, and we have to say enough is enough. Time has to change. And with that, each and every one of us, we have to make that spiritual change. We have to let go of those materialistic teaching and values that the United States government has come to place in the hearts of us and our children. We have to stand up and we have to pick up the teaching and the beliefs of our ancestors, our elders. We have to look in the direction of that spiritual richness, because that is who we are. And that is how we will walk into the future. That is how we must make our children believe in who they really are and where they rightfully belong. And with this, I would like to thank each and every one of you for the time, the patience, to hear me out. As I said before, I came up here for the likes of my brother, Leonard. But most importantly, I come up here for the likes of my brother, Joseph Stuntz. Because he was a young man and he gave that ultimate sacrifice just so that each and every one of us could walk with love and understanding. And it's people like this we mustn't forget. Oh, to all my relations. Oh, Natasha.